One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart steel and a spirit unbroken, he rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report and paves his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Yes, sir. Feels ultra good to be a G. Hopefully everyone's enjoying themselves and having a great morning. Great to see everybody, man. We've got a lot to discuss. Obviously, as you guys can see from the title here, U.S. destroys 50-plus Iranian naval ships. And Trump actually came out and said that yesterday while we were reporting that it's actually 51. But we have labeled U.S. destroys 50-plus Iranian naval ships, as well as Iran sleeper cell threats and more. So that's what the way that we labeled it this morning. But let's go ahead and give you guys a chronological breakdown of what we're actually going to be reporting on this morning. So we're actually going to start here nationally. We have some ordeal that's going on over there in Baltimore. 2 officers were shot in Baltimore active shooter incident. I don't have too much details other than that for that story. And of course, we're going to find out together on that whole thing what's happening. Then we have an update from yesterday. The White House press briefing, they held a briefing nonetheless about Iran. And so that happened yesterday. And then we have Disneyland hazmat situation leaves 2 hospitalized. It says the Anaheim Fire Department is on the scene at Disneyland. At least 2 people are hospitalized, according to officials. Well, that's it? That's all the information you're going to give me? Well, hopefully the story will let us know what actually happened. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about a little bit about AI and the role that it's playing in the Iran operation currently. We have a video from the mainstream media actually talking about that. Then we have U.S. destroys Iranian mine-laying ships near Strait of Hormuz. That's definitely interesting. Trump made a big post yesterday saying if you guys put out any type of mines or any of that shit, we're going to come and basically just destroy everything that you have left. So he made a big post about it yesterday. And then Iran warns it will block oil from Strait of Hormuz until U.S. strikes ends. Now, that is not surprising. Iran basically is saying the United States and Israel started this war. We are going to be the ones to end this shit. You know what I mean? You guys started it. We're the ones that decide when it's ended. Then we have U.S. attacking Iranian naval ships, signaling war at sea. And yes, that's exactly where we're at right now. And then U.S. Secret Service investigating after van drives through White House barricade. What are people doing, bro? Then we have Operation Epic Fury. U.S. plane strike Iran. Now, that just came out 31 minutes ago for context. So we have a lot of stuff that's floating around right now as we speak. So great to see everyone in the chat, man. Let's go ahead and do our call to actions real quick, and then we'll get right into these stories. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It helps out the show immensely. And by the way, if you guys are on the vertical side, make sure you guys double tap that screen and hit that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday, as well as Saturday morning for members only. Now, a little side note, I do have to let you guys know I made an announcement last night that unfortunately I will not be able to make this Saturday for members only. And that is because I'm going to be going down kind of south of Birmingham for Bama Carry. Bama Carry is the #1 gun rights advocate group here in the state, and we're endorsed by them. So me and J.R. Bowling are, of course, going to be going down there and doing this annual thing for them. So it's going to be a good time. But we'll be doing, of course, that doesn't mean that we're not doing members only this week. It just means just for this week, we're moving it from Saturday to Sunday. So Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So, okay. So speaking of memberships, please consider becoming a member starting only at $3.99 a month. We're making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. This is how we stay on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So I very much appreciate you guys becoming members and then staying members. Little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything but behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, the campaign trail. It's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. And also, if you guys like these kind of conversations that we're talking about, we continue these conversations in the Discord server. Make sure you guys go into the video description down below and get the invite link for the Discord. That's where we all hang out after the show. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, by the way, then we have these platforms scrolling around the screen. And, of course, you guys can donate there and get your voice heard. I'll read it out loud just like a super chat. I've got my email up, so if anything comes through, we're ready to rock and roll. All right, good to see everybody in here. We've got a big morning ahead of us, so I won't be able to say hi to literally every single person in here, but I'm going to try. We got Easy Frank as well as Warlander up in the building. We got KP as well as Jimmy Mac, Steve, Easy. Good morning to you guys. We got Gary as well. We're scrolling our way down. We got Two Wheel Jesus as well as Chasing Ghost. Great to see you in the chat. We got Miss Lotus as well as the Lion Lily. We got Rabbit of Chaos. Great to see you ladies in the chat, by the way. We got Pops in the building. Shout out to you and many blessings to you and your family and Mountain Woman. Great to see you guys. Let's see. We got Motobomb Virginia in the chat as well. Thank you very much for the raid this morning, by the way. I very much appreciate you. And the coffee crew, you know what I mean? We got Steve Posey as well. Good morning to you as well. We got Dylan Patterson, and we got Big Al in the chat as well, by the way. Just had to shout that out. All right, we're going to get right into this craziness, all right? Here we go. We're going to start this off, and we're going to start off with the 2 officers shot in Baltimore active shooter incident. This is yesterday.
You, and we are following breaking news out of Baltimore, Maryland, where there's an active shooter situation. We now have some live looks that we want to get to. This one is a little bit shaky, but I did want to share it with you as
hey, shout out to you, 420. I very much appreciate that. Let's go.
The photographer is on the move. This is specifically in the 6200 block of Park Heights Avenue, and it does look like we perhaps have another live look right here. I'm just working to confirm that.
It looks like the media is just walking up. They turn on the camera and they're just walking up to the scene.
Yes. Okay. So we have another look right here. This is a more stable shot right here. So we're going to transition to this. You can see a very active situation here on the ground as several law enforcement patrol cars are there on the street. So this is the 6200 block of Park Heights Avenue, where this active shooter incident is under.
Yeah, no kidding there, Steve.
Way. According to Baltimore police, the very latest is that an officer has been shot and transported to shock trauma. A suspect, they say, was also shot. So they're asking everyone to avoid these surrounding areas. It does look like this is as close.
Wait, so the shooter shot 2 officers. And he got shot too, right?
To the scene.
That's what I heard.
Police are allowing people, as you can imagine, safety is paramount, and that is why they're not allowing the media to go right up to the scene, as they're asking everyone to avoid these particular areas. And you can see that the police have blocked off some of these roads right here, and more arriving with their lights on as they are responding to this breaking news of an active shooter incident in the 6200 block of Park Heights Avenue. The very latest, if you're just joining us at this hour right here on Live Now from Fox, is that a police officer has been shot, transported to shock trauma. That's according to Baltimore police. And they say a suspect was also shot. We continue to see ramped up police presence here as these vehicles are driving down the street with their lights on, and the photographer once again panning an unmarked vehicle now also arriving at the scene. What we did was this. The Baltimore police publicly has shared this address, which is 6200 block of Park Heights Avenue. We entered that into the computer, and what came back was a local synagogue at this area. Baltimore police have yet to release additional information, but we do know that a suspect has been shot as well as a police officer. At this point in time, we do not have the conditions of the police officer or the suspect. We also don't have any identification or information, any details in terms of what may have led to this shooting. What I'm going to do is this. As we like to give you the live sights and sounds, we're going to raise the audio of this live feed.
Yes, sir, Carney. Great to see you. By the way, guys, we have 132 people in here already. Make sure you guys double tap that screen. Hit that like button if you're on the horizontal side. Listen, you guys don't have to like all this craziness, but you guys can like it for me and what we do here. So.
So you can hear the ambient noise right there from this particular.
Now let's go ahead and scroll up and see if we get any other footage here. Oh, here we go. We got a little bit more of on the scene. It looks like they're swapping back to that camera that was just walking up.
Some of that crime scene tape.
Oh, I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's just setting it down.
As the photographer has set up the camera on the ground, giving you a different.
Oh, he's putting out. Well, he's putting out the fucking tripod. That's what he's doing.
Perspective. You know, the different buildings in this neighborhood right here, and we do see a lot of police vehicles. We also see what looks like perhaps a.
What's up, Tiffany? Good morning.
Residential area, at least from the standpoint of where the photographer is sitting. It looks like these are homes here in the area. We do see that fire truck that says the city of Baltimore as the camera is currently setting up, and you can actually see some of these armored vehicles lined up. This is Pinckney Road right there in Baltimore. Wanted to make sure that we had that correctly.
But hey, homie, you be banging on Pinckney or what, cuz?
This does look like what appears to be a residential neighborhood. You can see the speed limit is 30 miles an hour. So it does look like maybe some of these smaller roads right here, as we see a very heavy law enforcement presence here at Pinckney Road. The actual situation.
Yo, shout out to my man Seth. Great to see you in the chat, bro. Good morning.
Was in another particular area, and that was Park Heights Avenue in Baltimore, Maryland. So this looks like it's adjacent to that scene. Police are asking everyone to avoid the surrounding areas. So this appears to be as close to the scene as police are allowing the media. You saw that yellow crime scene tape right there. So there is a perimeter, as we do see very heavy police presence, and this armored vehicle right here, you can see some of those masts raised. That is to allow for better communication signals right there.
All right, so let's go and see if we get any other updates here. We do. It says, okay, an officer has been shot. Well, it sounds like that there's actually two officers now. They're just showing where it is at and where the officer was transported to. A suspect was also shot. Avoid the surrounding area. More information will be provided as it comes available. All right, let's go ahead and scroll ahead here. Nope, still the same post. We're scrolling ahead because we're not wasting anybody's time here. A Maryland officer and a suspect have been shot in an active shooter incident in Baltimore. Okay, we know that. Update. 2 police officers have been shot and transported to shock trauma, while the Baltimore Police Department is on the scene of an active shooter incident. All right, that is the update. All right, let's go ahead and go into now the White House. There was a press briefing held by Caroline Leavitt yesterday, so let's go ahead and get a little bit of what she was talking about here. Let's go ahead and bring this up. By the way, there's Lucy. She's hanging out. What up, Lucy? All right, here we go.
Tomorrow, President Trump will travel to the great states of Ohio and Kentucky, where he will tout his...
My man, Virginia Chaos, good morning to you, by the way. Happy hump day to you and everybody here.
...economic victories and detail the administration-wide efforts to continuing lowering prices to make everyday life more affordable for working Americans. The president will visit Thermo Fisher Scientific in Ohio and give remarks at Verst Logistics.
I'm going to go ahead and speed her up a little bit because this is a little bit of a lengthy segment, and we're not going to go ahead and listen to the entire thing anyways, by the way. We have just too many things to get to, and we consolidate everything into an hour. So
in Kentucky. On Thursday, President Trump and the First Lady will host a Women's History Month event in the East Room. And on Friday, the president will sign several executive orders, and we will provide more details on those later this week. As President Trump shared with the American people last night, the United States military is making tremendous strides towards achieving our military objectives for Operation Epic Fury. 10 days in, this campaign has been a resounding success thus far.
Well, actually, it was day 11 yesterday. Today is day 12. Just for clarification.
And America's warriors are winning this important fight at an even faster pace than we anticipated. More than 5,000 enemy targets have been struck so far. Iran's ballistic missile attacks are down more than 90%, and their drone attacks are down by approximately 85% since the start of Operation Epic Fury. The United States is also annihilating the Iranian regime's navy, and we have destroyed more than 50 Iranian naval vessels, including a major drone carrier ship. None of the regime's vessels are operating in major regional waterways, and the Iranian Navy has been assessed as combat ineffective. The trend is clear. U.S. combat capabilities are increasing and growing more lethal and dominant by the day, while the Iranian terrorist regime's ability to respond has rapidly declined. Now, the U.S. military is moving to dismantle Iran's missile production infrastructure. Our incredible B-2 bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound penetrator bombs on deeply buried missile sites. Last night, President Trump reiterated his commitment.
Thank you for trying to fix the audio finally. I was almost going to say something, but I was like, you know what? These guys, they hear me complain about these bad audio all the time.
Toward keeping oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz so the United States and all of our allies can receive their energy needs. President Trump will not allow rogue Iranian terrorists to stop the freedom of navigation and the free flow of energy. Let me be clear. It is a good thing to wipe out terrorists who indiscriminately target civilians and attempt to hold the global economy hostage. And President Trump should be commended for doing so. As the president made unequivocally clear to the remaining elements of this terrorist regime in his statement yesterday, if they do anything to stop the flow of oil or goods within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the world's most powerful military 20 times harder.
Yeah, no kidding. Hormuz?
than they have been hit thus far. Moving forward, the stated objectives for Operation Epic Fury remain the same. Destroy the terrorist regime's ballistic missiles, raise their Iranian missile industry to the ground, ensure their terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region, and ensure that Iran never obtains a nuclear weapon. President Trump remains confident these goals will be accomplished in swift.
What's up, sick bastard, by the way? Great to see you in the chat, bro.
Fashion. As for the oil, President Trump fully expected the rogue Iranian regime to try and disrupt the global markets. That's why President Trump and his energy team have been planning for this long before the strike and have moved quickly to address these temporary disruptions. Thus far, the Trump administration has offered political risk insurance to tankers operating in the Gulf. The Treasury temporarily waived certain oil-related sanctions, and the Commander-in-Chief has offered the U.S. Navy to escort tankers when necessary. The president and his energy team are closely watching the markets, speaking with industry leaders, and the U.S. military is drawing up additional options following the president's directive to continue keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. I will not broadcast what those options look like, but just know the president is not afraid to use them.
You know exactly what that means.
Rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term. Once the national...
Well, fuck. All I can say is I hope that's fucking true.
Security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are...
I mean, of course, we know it's going to be inflated because of warfare, you know, but yeah.
Fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly, potentially even lower than they were prior to the start of the operation. And we will live in a world where Iran can no longer threaten the United States or our allies with a nuclear bomb. On another matter here at home, President Trump is urging Congress to pass the Save America Act, one of the most critical pieces of legislation in our nation's history. The Save America Act is overwhelmingly popular with all Americans because each provision is rooted in common sense. The Save America Act has 5 simple requirements as requested by the President of the United States. Number 1, voters have to show ID to cast a ballot in an American election. Very simple. 90% of Americans, including more than 80% of Democrat voters, agree with this. Number 2, the Save America Act will require all voters to show proof of citizenship in order to register to vote in American elections. Again, this is popular and rooted in common sense. Only American citizens have the right to vote in American elections. But after Joe Biden and the Democrats allowed tens of millions of illegal aliens into our country, it's more important than ever to ensure that only American citizens are registering to vote on our nation's voter rolls, and Congress needs to pass this. Number 3, the Save America Act abolishes the incredibly unsecure practice of universal mail-in ballots, which throw the door wide open for fraud. Importantly, the Save America Act maintains exceptions for Americans to use mail-in ballots like for illness, disability, military, or travel reasons. The bipartisan 2005 report...
Man, there's a little tiny, like, high-pitched sound from their fucked up audio over there, and it keeps bugging the shit out of me. I'm sure that you guys can't hear it. Maybe some of you guys have noticed it. But, man, it is bothersome.
Of the Commission on Federal Election Reform, chaired by, of all people, former President Jimmy Carter and former Secretary of State James Baker, concluded that, quote, absentee ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud, and it is time for Congress to finally address this. Number 4, the Save America Act permanently bans men from competing in women's sports. President Trump signed a landmark executive order upholding the promise of Title IX.
By the way, we have 220 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button and double tap that screen on the vertical side. Thank you guys for your laborious work on that.
And ending this dangerous and unfair practice. But now it's time for Congress to codify this into law. Number 5, the Save America Act bans transgender mutilation surgery for children. Again, President Trump signed a common sense executive order to do this and kept his promise to the American people, but now Congress needs to do the same and codify it. It's well past time for Democrats in Congress to stop perpetuating the radical and false claim that you can somehow change a child's sex. You cannot. Passing the Save America Act is the most important thing that Republicans and, frankly, Democrats can do to strengthen election integrity and protect our democracy. It's what the American people elected Republicans to do, and they must deliver on it as soon as possible. The president is calling on Congress to get the job done and send this historic piece of legislation to his desk immediately for signature. So with that today, I will take your questions. Benny, thank you for being here, and why don't you start us off?
Thank you, Caroline.
And we're only going to take a few questions here, by the way, because we got a lot to get through. I don't want to stick on this too long, but we're going to get a few questions.
My first question is actually about the Save America Act. So one of the biggest things that the Democrats are saying, the claims that they're making, is that the Save America Act, it would prevent married women from voting in elections or make it harder for them. What do you have to say to those claims? Is there...
What? I hate that cope. Are you serious? That married women don't have IDs and shit? Get out of town with that kind of rhetoric, bro. That's fucking cope if I've ever heard it.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cope.
Any validity to them, and where do you think they're getting this from?
There is zero validity to these claims, and I'm glad that you brought them up, because you have the Democrats who have created this myth, and it has been perpetuated, unfortunately, by many in the mainstream media. Let me be very clear. The Save America Act does not prohibit anyone from voting, with the exception of illegal aliens. And the greatest way to disenfranchise American citizens from voting in American elections is to allow illegal aliens to vote, which is what Democrats want to do. We see it taking place in Democrat jurisdictions at the state and local level across this country. So the Save America Act corrects that, and as far as married women who have changed their name, if they're already registered to vote, they're entirely unaffected by the SAVE Act. And for the small fraction of individuals who have changed their name or their address, they can still register to vote. Of course, they just have to go through their state processes to update that documentation. And this is something that the American people, married women and minorities and people all across this country who Democrats are insultingly saying cannot do this, they're already doing it every day, going to the Social Security office, going to the DMV. And I think it's frankly insulting that the Democrats are saying that there are certain groups of people in this country who aren't smart enough.
In all fairness, I do have it sped up at 1.25 playback speed, by the way. And we got Charlie in the building. Shout out to you. Good morning and happy hump day to you.
To update their documentation to allow them to vote. Again, this is a huge myth, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to address it.
Of course, and then there's one more question about DHS, the funding issue. It's been 3+ weeks now. I was actually
Yeah, she'll do it to the back of my hat all the time, and then she gets stuck, and then she can't like pull off. So I'm like, yeah, it's a pain in the ass sometimes.
At the airport this morning in St. Louis, Missouri. And
oh, we all love her.
Early in the morning, and one of the TSA agents, I saw she was kind of tearing up. She was crying, and I asked her, I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I can't make my phone payment. I can barely make my car payment that's coming up. I think a lot in the Beltway, there's so much noise between Democrats and Republicans. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Republicans' fault. But what is the White House's message to the American people that are struggling because they're not getting that paycheck? It's take away the politics. What do you have to say to those people?
I can't believe Caroline Leavitt is still entertaining this broad right here. I'll tell you one thing. She is pretty, though. Both of these women on here are pretty smoking. Just saying. You know what I mean? Shit.
President Trump wants the Department of Homeland Security, he wants TSA, he wants FEMA, he wants the brave men and women of our United States Coast Guard to receive their paychecks, and he wants this department to be fully funded and fully reopened. And so to any American out there who is struggling without a paycheck, we know there's more than 100,000 of you across the country. To any American out there who is showing up to an airport and facing incredibly long wait times and lines, call your Democrat member of Congress and tell them to fund the Department of Homeland Security. That's what President Trump wants to do, and it's completely ridiculous that the American people are suffering as a result of these partisan games that are being played by Democrats on Capitol Hill. Thank you. Steve.
You said the operation was going faster than anticipated. What is your current timeline for how long the war will last?
So look, as you know, Steve, the president and the U.S. military's initial timeline was about 4 to 6 weeks to achieve the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury. Again, to destroy their missiles and their ability to make them, destroy their navy, permanently deny them nuclear weapons forever, and to, of course, weaken their evil terrorist proxies in the region. We know that the U.S. military and our brave warfighters are quickly and expeditiously executing these objectives well ahead of schedule, but ultimately the operations will end when the commander-in-chief determines the military objectives have been met, fully realized, and that Iran is in a position of complete and unconditional surrender, whether they say it or not.
Does the president still want Iran's unconditional surrender?
Well, when President Trump says that Iran is in a place of unconditional surrender, he's not claiming the Iranian regime is going to come out and say that themselves. What the president means is that Iran's threats will no longer be backed by a ballistic missile arsenal that protects them from building a nuclear bomb in their country. I could make an empty threat, but if I have no actions to back it up, then it's an empty threat. And so President Trump will determine when Iran is in a place of unconditional surrender, when they no longer pose a credible and direct threat to the United States of America and our allies. Adriana.
Can you explain why the Energy Secretary posted and then appeared to have deleted a post on X saying that the U.S. Navy escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz?
Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the president has said he will.
So it has not happened yet. By the way, we have 352 people in here. Make sure you guys double tap that screen, hit that like button. Thank you all.
Absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
And if this was something that was posted erroneously, could it be because of a staffer? I guess, will there be any consequences for this? I know you still have to consult, but generally speaking.
Again, I would defer you to the Department of Energy to answer that question.
And if I could just follow up really quickly.
Sure.
In terms of oil sanctions, the president said that there would be some sanctions. What that would be lifted? Would those be on Venezuela?
I don't know what the whole ordeal is. And guys, too, in the media. You see these, just saying.
Why are you gay?
The gay guys up there, and they have these really big, extreme, crazy glasses and shit. I don't know what the deal is.
Russia, can you give some specifics there and then timing for that as well?
Sure. I know it's something that the Treasury Department and the President's energy team continue to discuss, and they will ultimately consult with the President before decisions are made. I don't have any announcements on new sanctions or the lifting of new sanctions for you today. Alex.
Thank you. Reuters has reported that about 150 U.S. service members have been injured so far. Can you confirm that number and elaborate on that?
I can't confirm the exact number. I know it's within that ballpark, but I would defer you to the Pentagon for a specific number of wounded or injured thus far.
And then secondly, if I can, I wanted to ask about there was a briefing on the Capitol Hill today, and some senators came out and said they were more convinced than ever that there would be U.S. troops on the ground. Senator Blumenthal said that. In fact, your reaction to that and any update on President Trump's thinking about it?
Look, I would say that Democrats on Capitol Hill are clearly being quite disingenuous. 3 years ago, not a single Democrat voted against the resolution condemning Iran as the world's leading state sponsor of terror. Yet now, with President Trump as commander-in-chief finally taking the action that so many Democrats have called on the commander-in-chief to do for many.
What's up, brother Kerry? Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday.
Many years to wipe out the threat of a rogue Iranian terrorist regime. Now, all of a sudden, Democrats are playing politics with this long-standing bipartisan policy of the United States, and 53 of them in the House recently voted against the resolution condemning Iran as the world's state sponsor of terror. So I wouldn't take Democrats at their word. As for boots on the ground, the president has talked about this repeatedly. Wisely, he does not rule options out as commander-in-chief. So again, I would hesitate to confirm anything that a Democrat on Capitol Hill says right now about the president's thinking.
Oh, shit. All right, we've got to move on. We have to. All right, guys, you know what we need to do? We need to embrace our fuck ups.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck ups when you have tomorrow's fuck ups to look forward to? You are a fuck up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
embrace thy process. You know what I mean? Shit. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. The next ordeal here. Let me go ahead and remove this window here. So Disneyland hazmat situation leaves 2 hospitalized. What the fuck? Before we get into more about Iran and all of that, we're going to talk about something that happened over there in Anaheim at Disneyland. Let's go ahead and figure out what the hell happened. It's very, very quick. It's only like 60 seconds.
As we have some breaking news that we also want to bring to you. Going to put up this live vantage point that we have there overlooking Disneyland there in Southern California. We do have this update coming in from Fox 11 in Los Angeles saying that 2 people have been hospitalized following a hazmat situation at Disneyland. And as you can see from Sky Fox zooming in on the scene there, you can see some of those emergency lights and personnel now showing up to that location. Putting this up on your screen from Fox 11 in LA. Ultimately, what we now know is that authorities, again, are on the scene of this hazmat situation that's been reported at Disneyland. According to the Anaheim Fire Department, at least 2 people have been taken to the hospital. The conditions of those 2 guests are currently unknown, and it's unclear whether or not they were at the theme park there as guests or employees at the time. Fox 11, though, is tracking this update with Disneyland and has reached out for further comment. But as you're
I'd actually like to know what the fuck happened, though. That would be
there
nice.
On your screen, again, these live pictures are coming to us from Sky Fox, showing that folks are still there at Disneyland, walking around amid this hazmat situation. If we get an update and know the cause of it, we'll certainly bring it to you on air.
And of course, that's what I'm going to do as well. All right. So anything that we start on a story, of course, I do my best to be able to follow it and report on what's happening. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about Iran and AI, actually. The role of AI in this Iranian operation. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Here we go.
Thanks for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. We do want to continue on with our top stories that we're following. And this next one takes us to the world of technology. I do want to put up this live vantage point that we have there at the White House. And so you may have seen this article and this headline come across your newsfeed. But artificial intelligence firm Anthropic is now suing the Trump administration this week over the Pentagon's choice to designate it as a supply chain risk. According to some of those legal findings, Anthropic is now alleging that the federal government retaliated against the company over its opposition to the use of its AI for lethal autonomous warfare or mass surveillance of Americans. And so their 2 sides have become increasingly contentious in these conversations over those limitations for months, according to our partners there at Reuters. President Trump also said in a social media post that ordered the entire government to stop using Claude. To talk a lot more about how we arrived at this point, I do want to now bring into the conversation Mark Beal. He's the president of government affairs for the...
Now, we're not going to talk too much about this, by the way. We're going to allow this guy to get his nut off real quick. You know what I mean? He'll say what he's got to say in the regards of AI. I'll hear out his small monologue, and then if he continues going, blah, 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 or whatever, we got to move on. We got a lot of shit going down. Our next story after this, U.S. destroys Iranian mine-laying ships near Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, I mean, right now, we've already taken out, the United States has taken out 51 Iranian naval ships. So, I mean, this shit's crazy.
AI Policy Network and former Pentagon AI Policy Director. Mark, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox.
Hello.
All right, there's a lot to uncover when we're talking about a story like this, many different layers that has a lot of folks.
What's up, brother Hardwire? Great to see you in the chat, bro.
Questioning how we got to this point. And so for the average American who may use ChatGPT pretty irregularly or just to ask a question or two, they might be wondering why the government and the Pentagon has such intense interest in that technology overall. Can you sort of walk us through that conversation and how
it's the power
that happens on Capitol Hill and the use of that technology?
Sure. Well, everything sort of begins with the invention of a technique called deep learning. And what that did was it allowed AI products to start to become very commercially useful for all kinds of different enterprises, for healthcare, for marketing, for government. And I think during the first Trump administration, there was a recognition that AI was going to be disrupting the world, transforming the world, and that the U.S. government had to get its arms around it. So flash forward to today, we've seen this very sort of predictable trend in AI capabilities getting more and more and more powerful. And government agencies and leaders are looking at this technology and seeing a tremendous opportunity to improve the operational effectiveness and efficacy of government operations. And so They're looking at this as a way to increase value for taxpayers, to do things better, faster, and more efficiently. And as a result, there's this sort of all-out blitz across not just government, but private industry on figuring out how it is that these organizations can adopt and use AI for the betterment of whatever it is that they're trying to do in the world.
And now we've gotten to a
All
point
right.
where we're
So that's kind of all I really wanted to hear. Let me hear what she's got to say. If she's going to ask a follow-up question, we don't need to hear it.
seeing some controversy involved with that. Putting this up from the New York Post, as the Pentagon has now labeled Anthropic as a supply chain risk just days after the CEO clashed with President Trump. I do have to ask you, when it comes to these policy decisions and what government contracts are ultimately given out, how does that conversation work behind the scenes as you were in the pit?
We don't need to hear that. We're going to move on. U.S. destroys Iranian mine-laying ships near Strait of Hormuz. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Here we go. Oh, you know what we haven't done yet? Shit. We haven't even done the money part yet.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
True, by the way.
Denied.
Let's get it. All right, here we go. Hit that like button, everybody. Double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. Thank you, guys.
Here too live now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. Day number 11 of this ongoing conflict in Iran. And although President Trump has said there are no reports.
I definitely wonder, too, if it's going to do them any justice or if it's going to do us any justice. It's going to be interesting how this all plays out.
Of mines being placed in the Strait of Hormuz, those threats, those just reports are causing issues with this major energy artery there. And you can see this from Central Command saying the forces, they have eliminated multiple Iranian naval vessels, including 16 mine layers near that Strait of Hormuz. As President Trump said, there would be likely more to follow, saying the U.S. military has completely destroyed some of those mine-laying vessels. Additionally,
What's up, Christopher Collins? It's been a minute. Great to see you in the chat, bro. Good morning.
They're saying we are using the same technology and missile capabilities deployed there in the Strait of Hormuz against drug traffickers, like it
Dirty.
permanently
Good
eliminated
morning.
any boat or ship attempting to mine Hormuz Strait. So some of these images from the Central Command showing what's going on, saying they will dealt with quickly and violently. Let's be joined right now by maritime expert, global shipping expert, Campbell University professor Sal Mercogliano. Sal, thank you so much for joining us. And just at the outset of this conflict, you kind of pointed to mines could be a possibility in the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, they're just threats. They're just basically.
What's up, Seymour? Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday to you and everybody.
A theory, but that's still deterring vessels, isn't it?
It is, Andy, and thanks for having me. I think mines are really the threat that everybody feared the most. And in truth, you don't have to lay one mine to cause the problem. Just the threat of it creates consternation among shipping. As you know, since February 28th, what we've seen happen is shipping is basically locked up. I mean, it's stopped moving largely through the straits.
Look at
We've
that
had
shit.
a couple of small ships
Damn.
come through. We've had a couple of ships that have sailed onto the area. But in truth, what we're seeing right now is global shipping has come to almost a full stop. And this represents 20% of global oil. This represents 20% of liquefied natural gas. And probably most disconcerting, it represents about a third of the world's fertilizer and the bunker fuel for a lot of ships out there. So, I mean, this is going to have an astronomical effect on global economics if we cannot get the strait open again.
And we know that President Trump has said there are no reports. They're not hearing that there are any mines out there, but that is deterrence enough. Exactly how would Iran lay mines? Exactly kind of formulate this for me. How dangerous are they out there?
Well, we have different styles of mine, and I think one of the things that a lot of people are doing is looking at kind of old-fashioned ones they've laid back in the 80s and the 90s, the kind of the traditional, you know, big, huge floating ball with the horns on it. That's the kind of your traditional contact mine. But in truth, mines have changed, much like we've seen mine warfare change on land. Much more sophisticated bottom mines, very difficult to detect, made out of composites, mines that actually move, almost like drones, mines that allow ships to sail over a few times and then the next one. So, I mean, really, really dangerous types of mines out there, and they become very difficult to detect too. And one of the things that the U.S. has just done, is changed out its minesweeping fleet in the Persian Gulf. 4 older minesweepers, old wooden ones that have been there for like 35 years, were removed, and now we have 3 new littoral combat ships with these new minesweeping drones on board. So the U.S. has minesweeping capability in the Gulf, but the question is going to be is really these different styles of mines. It's a very difficult prospect because you can't just sweep the first time going through. You have to continually be on the lookout for them.
Yeah, it's not
Well, yeah, because they can constantly just put them out. And also, not just that, but it doesn't just have to be an Iranian naval ship that puts them out or anything. It can be just any type of small little vessel, fishing vessel that goes out in the channel and drops mines.
One-time sort of deal with this. And we talk about this mines being out there, just the threat being a deterrence. But if a ship, if a vessel, if a major oil tanker hits one of these mines, will it sink potentially? Is it just a huge traffic jam? What happens?
Well, actually, an oil tanker hitting a mine is not actually the most dangerous thing in the world. Back in 1987, during the...
You got to remember as well, the ships are kind of built in the idea of not just a single hull idea anymore. Most, actually almost every single, I think every single ship out there is double hull. But yeah, so, and it's also contained in many, many sections. So you could take out an entire section and you ain't going to sink it, kind of thing.
First escort operations, the SS Bridgeton, a fully loaded oil tanker, actually hit a mine, and the ship's crew wasn't quite aware of what happened until they saw a plume of water come over. Tankers are so big that really didn't do much damage. Matter of fact, a fully loaded oil tanker actually dumps oil out and gets lighter in the water. But there are types of vessels that can damage it, and more importantly, there are sophisticated types of mines, especially these bottom influence mines. Mines that blow up under a ship can cause a lot of physical damage to a ship. And we have some ships that sail through this area, particularly liquefied petroleum and liquefied natural gas carriers, where fire would be the big concern we have. And obviously, an oil tanker with a hole in the side, fully loaded, we have environmental issues all at play there.
And if they did...
All right, so let's go ahead and see if there's any other updates on this whole thing. It looks like there is. Let's go ahead and see what's happening here.
Oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. The White House pushing back, saying that post was premature, saying it's not happening. We're actually hearing from different officials in Iran, including the parliament, talking about this exact fact, saying that an oil tanker crossed the Strait of Hormuz, escorted by the U.S. Navy, maybe on PlayStation. That's one of the
maybe on PlayStation
in Iran. What would it look like, and how logistically challenging would it be if the U.S. Navy does get involved in this way?
Well, I think it's kind of funny that that they talk like that. Meanwhile, we just took out 51 of their fucking Navy ships. I mean, they don't have like a Navy anymore. And they're still talking that shit. Like, yeah, you might have done that shit on PlayStation. Like, oh, shit.
The Navy is really the one that commercial firms are looking at right now. They want to see some movement. They want to know that the strait is safe, either from mines or from unmanned aerial vehicles and surface vehicles and weaponry, missiles. So, I mean, they're really looking toward the U.S. Navy to do it. As we saw this morning, General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs Staff, fielded a question about this specifically, and said that he is developing plans that the Military Central Command, the U.S. Fifth Fleet, are really standing by to be tasked to do this. I think the Navy is going to be the one who's going to have to really uncork the Strait of Hormuz. So we may see, conventional like World War II style escorts. I think that's a very low probability to happen. I think what we would see.
Yeah, but it's not off the table. Trump or the administration was asked about it, and they said that they would be willing to do that. It's not off the table. All right, we're going to move on, though. Iran warns it will block oil from Strait of Hormuz until U.S. strikes end. And yes, again, like I said earlier in the show, the way that they're looking at it is United States and Israel started this war. Iran is going to finish it. That's the way that their idea is. So let's go ahead and bring this up, and we'll discuss it briefly here.
All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Eddie Mack. We're learning new information about the ongoing conflict in Iran as approximately 140 U.S. service members have been wounded in the first 10 days of this conflict, which is a significant jump from what we knew over the past week. We heard from Secretary of Defense Pete.
What's up, Charles? Man, you've missed it. Lucy's been all up in my business today, so you missed it.
Hank said earlier on today,
she's on my feet now.
Today will be the most intense days of U.S. strikes in that region. For more on this, let's go out to Jennifer Griffin that gets us up to speed.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Iranian naval vessels sunk, but Iran continues attacks on Gulf countries.
Are they more formidable than you anticipated, General?
What's up, Charlie? Welcome to the channel, my man. This is what we do Monday through Friday, by the way, reporting world news, geopolitics, American news, American politics, breaking news, all that stuff. And we can basically condense everything into a single hour instead of sitting on here all day long. We basically condense everything in the last 24 hours in 1 hour.
I think they're fighting, and I respect that, but I don't think they're more formidable than what we thought.
The two biggest pressures on President Trump, the rising cost of oil and the strain on stockpiles of expensive...
Hey, by the way, Toxic Bacon 56 coming in with the 250 joules. Thank you for the seal, by the way. I very much appreciate that. Let's go.
Munitions. The U.S. military used more than 150 of the 534 THAAD interceptors during last summer's Iranian operation. The 2026 defense budget adds only 37 more to the arsenal.
We risk getting into a very precarious situation, one that could invite or tempt somebody like China.
President Xi of China has set 2027 as the year in which his military should be ready to take Taiwan by force if necessary. The U.S. Navy will need missile defense systems for its bases throughout the Pacific, its Navy warships and long-range missiles to defend Taiwan and deter China. President Trump says the U.S. military has a limitless stockpile of weapons, but also met with key defense contractors last Friday and pressed them to quadruple production.
But we have unlimited middle and upper ammunition, which is really what we're using in this war. And we have really an unlimited supply.
The Pentagon spent $5.6
What's up, brother Pitbull over there in the UK? Great to see you in the chat, bro.
billion in munitions during the first 2 days of the assault, according to lawmakers briefed on Capitol Hill, and will need at least a $50 billion supplemental from Congress.
We need to be all in and finish the job. I've never been more impressed with a military operation than I am at Epic Fury.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky sent a team of Ukrainian counter-drone experts to the Middle East to show the Gulf states and Jordan how to defend against Iran's Shahed drones, which Russia fires at Ukraine almost every night. Axios first reported a Ukrainian team offered to provide the U.S. with its counter-drone technology to defend bases in the Middle East during a meeting last August at the White House between Presidents Trump and Zelensky, but the Pentagon did not follow up. In Washington, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
All right, thank you so much for that. And one of the main pressure points is around oil. And yesterday, President Trump said this conflict may end very soon. That calmed some nerves. But new developments today about potential reports that the Iranians may put mines in the Strait of Hormuz to deter some of those vessels moving through the region. And President Trump responded in kind with this response, saying if Iran puts those mines in...
What's up, yo mama? Shout out to you. Great to see you in the chat, man. Happy Whip 'em Out Wednesday.
To the Strait of Hormuz, and we have no reports of them doing so. We want them removed immediately. For any reason mines were placed, they are not removed forthwith.
Now, I don't know if it was a submarine. I didn't necessarily see that, but I do know that 51 naval vessels from the Iranian side have been sunken or taken out completely.
Military consequence to Iran will be a level never seen before. All right, let's continue on here on Live Now from Fox. Bring into the conversation Director of the Middle East Program at the Defense Priorities. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox, Rosemary.
Yeah, I hate when they do that, Carney.
Kalenic. We talk about the Strait of Hormuz so very much right now. And is Iran using this energy artery more so as a bargaining chip or as a weapon right now?
I'd say it's both right now. I mean, weapons are often bargaining chips at the same time. And Iran is using it as a weapon. But of course, they can reverse their attacks on the Strait anytime they see fit. And if the United States, ceases its hostilities, perhaps Iran would decide to do that, perhaps not. There's a lot of speculation right now about, whether or not, even if President Trump decided to end the war, whether or not Iran would agree to end the war, because of course they want to reestablish deterrence. They feel the need to convince the region, convince the United States, convince Israel that they can strike back hard and might continue to do so in Hormuz and elsewhere in the region.
And we've seen just the note that mines might be present has deterred vessel as this has slowed to a very trickle there in this chokehold, this choke point of a region. What is it signaling to you that...
What's up, SST? Great to see you in the chat.
Iranians might be using mines in this? Are they leaning into the fact that this is putting a lot of pressure on the United States and President Trump?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely they are. And, it's an interesting signal because it signals that they might continue this crisis for a long period of time, or they might continue targeting shipping in the Strait for a long period of time. So Iran doesn't need mines to harass vessels in the Strait. They can do that with missiles. They can do it with drones. They can do it with speedboats that have explosives on them. They can do it with limpet mines where they pull up in a speedboat, attach it to the hull of a tanker, and then speed away. The fact that they're visibly laying mines in a way that the United States can see them doing it, or at least U.S. intelligence has detected it, right? That's signaling that they're willing to keep fighting for a longer period of time because, of course, it takes time to clear mines.
And it takes time to lay them and it clears them. We are playing some video there from Central Command, U.S. Central Command, noting that they have destroyed some 16 Iranian.
I don't know. She was in the Discord earlier this morning.
Mine layers there in that region. But just the U.S. Navy might be involved. We heard from Energy Secretary Chris Wright. He posted on social media, and then the White House had to clarify that there was actually no U.S. Navy ships kind of chaperoning, escorting vessels through the region. Will the U.S. Navy get involved, and how much of a logistical challenge might that be in the Strait of Hormuz?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult because it puts U.S. naval assets at risk. If U.S. naval assets tried to escort ships through the Gulf, through the Strait, they're at risk. If they try to put minesweepers or LCS ships, littoral combat ships, which have minesweeping capabilities in the Strait, those are put at risk of Iranian attack from the shore. And this is a scenario that Iran has been planning for literally for decades.
Yo, Pitbull, just go into the video description down below this video right here. Just pull out and just go in the video description and you'll see the Discord invite link. For some reason on the side that you're on the vertical side, when I copy and paste a link, it doesn't hyper copy it. So I can't, or hyperlink it. So you won't be able to click it, which is super lame. So just go in the video description down below and grab that link.
So it is a difficult military problem. That said, the threat to tankers from mines and the threat to tankers from Iran's attacks are generally overestimated. It's very difficult to sink a tanker. It's even difficult to total a tanker to make it a total complete loss. But the fact of the matter is...
That's super interesting too, Steve Easy. I didn't know that. But it makes sense, I guess, because links don't even work on that side.
Iran doesn't have to sink tankers to frighten shippers into avoiding the Strait. And so the big question going forward is, how long are these attacks going to continue? And then whether or not the market adapts in certain ways where they agree, shippers...
She probably fell asleep and she's just waking up. There she is. What's up, Naomi?
Insurance companies agree to assume more risk, which of course will cause prices to increase because risk is expensive to price in. But whether that risk could be priced in over time, as it was, during the Iran-Iraq War, for instance, when tankers were targeted during that conflict.
Are we learning anything from history? You mentioned the Iran-Iraq War, maybe dating back to the Islamic Revolution. Is there anything to be learned from history, and how similar might it be in some of these circumstances?
We don't need to hear that. We don't need to hear that BS. All right, we got enough out of there. Let's go and see if there's any other updates on this that they're showing, because I don't want to jip you guys out of information. All right, so there wasn't. Let's go and move into U.S. attacking Iranian naval ship signaling war at sea. This whole war at sea nomenclature has been thrown around this morning a lot.
Continuing with more of these developments out of the Middle East.
Mind you, this came out 3 hours ago.
I want to bring us out to this. It's a social media post courtesy of U.S. Central Command. It says this, that U.S. forces eliminated multiple Iranian naval vessels March 10th, including 16 mine layers near the Strait of Hormuz. Joining us next to talk more about these developments is Fox News' Rebecca Castor. She is live for us there down in Capitol Hill. Now, Rebecca, what is the Trump administration saying about these attacks against Iranian naval vessels?
Carl, good morning. Well, that post from U.S. Central Command is just one of many signs that the next phase of this war is going to be fought at sea. The Strait of Hormuz is what everybody is watching. It's a critical waterway where about 20% of the world's oil supply flows daily. And the Iranians have threatened to target any ship that attempts to pass. And they claimed they laid mines in the water to blow them up. President Trump says the U.S. has no reports that they actually did that. But he warned on social media if the mines were placed, they need to be removed immediately or military consequences to Iran will be at a level never seen.
Yeah, Trump said that yesterday.
I was just showing here, Rebecca, some of that video that was released by CENTCOM, but I do also want to talk about another cargo ship that was hit apparently in the Strait of Hormuz this morning. So what do we know about that situation?
Yeah, according to maritime officials in the United Kingdom, a cargo ship was hit by a projectile early this morning while crossing the strait. It caused a fire on board, and we know the crew had to evacuate. This is the 13th report those UK officials have gotten of an attack.
Damn.
In the Strait or near the Strait of Hormuz since Operation Epic Fury began. Iran hasn't yet claimed responsibility for a lot of those attacks, but this is exactly what ship captains are afraid of right now.
By the way, we have 408 people in here right now between the two streams. Make sure you guys double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. Hit that like button if you're on the horizontal. Listen, you don't have to like all this craziness that's happening around the world, but you guys can like it for me and what we do here. So thank you for that.
And why hundreds of vessels are basically at a standstill in the region. They don't want to take the risk. So if this attack was done by Iran, they're clearly not listening to the president's threats, and this could further escalate tensions.
And then finally here, Rebecca, I see that you are joining us there again from our nation's capital in the U.S. Just yesterday, lawmakers got yet another classified briefing on these strikes in the Middle East and Operation Epic Fury. So what have lawmakers...
What's up, Brother Bob? Great to see you up there from Canada, by the way. Great to see you. Hopefully you're enjoying your Whip 'em Out Wednesday.
And what can we know in the public?
Well, they are sharing very little of the classified information, of course, and Democrats say they still don't have the answers they need to believe that this war is in Americans' best interest. Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut says he's become increasingly concerned that U.S. ground troops will be sent into Iran. And then Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth...
I'm really hoping we don't do some boots on the ground activity, please.
Warren told us that she thinks the U.S. is basically spending too much money and has other priorities that, you know, these millions of dollars that we're spending on this war could go to instead. Democrats are also demanding...
We're by the end of this, we're in the billions. I don't know where you're talking about millions. Billions.
Trump officials hold public hearings on the mission so Americans can have all of the facts. We'll see if that comes about.
All right, Rebecca Castor with Fox News joining us from Washington, D.C. Rebecca, thank you so much for that update. We'll check in soon. We are going to continue to follow any and all new developments and details regarding the situation in the Middle East. And I want to bring us out to some more social media posts here. This next one, courtesy of the Associated Press, saying that breaking, a projectile hit a cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz, setting the vessel ablaze after the United States targeted Iranian mine-laying vessels that could target the narrow mouth of the Persian Gulf. Now, this is just one of the points that Rebecca spoke about in that latest reporting. And again, lawmakers will be on Capitol Hill throughout the day today. So we'll see what more comments they have to say on this situation in the Middle East and if they possibly get another update from the Trump administration.
All right, so let's go and move on from that. We've got two last stories here for you guys. U.S. Secret Service investigating after van drives through White House barricade this morning. What are these people doing, bro?
Emotional, damn it!
All right, let's go ahead and bring this up. Let's go ahead and discuss it real quick. It's a very quick update.
We have some breaking news to report on this Wednesday, and take a look at this. A very active scene just outside of the White House over in Washington, D.C. This live feed, courtesy of our partners at Fox 5 in D.C. And
what's up, David? Good morning.
Apparently, a van has driven through a barricade just outside of the White House. We're waiting here for the photographer on the ground to reposition themselves and hopefully get a closer look here at this scene once again, as we are also seeing law enforcement clearing out what looks to be that crime scene tape just to prevent people from driving through this entire area. But you can see there a lot of those law enforcement vehicles still in the area, some of them driving around. It could be that they are possibly clearing this. But our team in D.C. following this closely, and they say this: a Secret Service investigation is underway near the White House after officials say a van drove through a barricade early Wednesday morning. This is what we know so far. The Metropolitan Police and Secret Service responded to the vicinity of the White House around 6:30 a.m. after a van drove through a barricade at Connecticut Avenue and H Street. The driver of the van was apprehended.
Like, what are you trying to do? I mean, driving a van through the barricade why? What is that going to accomplish? There's so much risk in this plan and not really any good that you can actually get from even a terrorist, ideology. I don't understand. You want to get killed? You want to have a death sentence?
And according to police, no injuries have been reported. And there you can see that very active scene that I just mentioned moments ago. Now, as a result of the investigation, multiple streets in the immediate area have been closed to traffic, including 15th Street and East Street Northwest and East Street Northwest, and H Street Northwest between 15th and 17th Streets. Drivers are advised to avoid the area and seek alternate routes, and commuters traveling through downtown Washington should expect delays. Officials have not yet released further details. This is, of course, a developing story, and so we'll be working with our partners on the ground and in the area just to get some more of those updated details. So far, this is what we have in terms of the live picture and the very active and heavy police presence here just outside of the White House. As we know that a van drove through a barricade near the White House Wednesday morning. So this morning, the driver of the van was apprehended by police, and several roads are closed nearby as the Secret Service does continue its investigation into this incident. We'll keep monitoring this for any more updates and bring them to you here at Live Now from Fox.
Of course, that's what we do too. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this last story up. This is from this is courtesy from CENTCOM about Operation Epic Fury, U.S. planes strike Iran. That's what the title of it is anyway. So let's go and bring this up. And for one last time, we got to embrace fuck ups.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck ups when you have tomorrow's fuck ups to look forward to? You are a fuck up. And fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
Embrace thy process. All right, here we go. Let's get into this.
I'm Admiral Brad Cooper here at United States Central Command, where I'm leading the forces executing Operation Epic Fury. First, I want you to know that we continue to keep the families of our fallen heroes and our wounded teammates in our thoughts and prayers. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the families of the 50,000 American servicemen and women deployed in and around the Middle East. I'm grateful for your selfless sacrifice, and I know that Americans across the country hold you in their hearts. Let me start by offering my overall assessment of Operation Epic Fury. In short, U.S. forces continue delivering devastating combat power against the Iranian regime. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. U.S. combat power is building, Iranian combat power is declining. And we remain centered on very clear military objectives in eliminating Iran's ability to project power against Americans and against its neighbors. Every day, we're striking hard at Iranian ballistic missile and drones. To date, we have struck more than 5,500 targets inside Iran, including more than 60 ships, using a variety of precision weapon systems. Just yesterday, we had strike waves nearly every hour from different locations and directions going into Iran. We also took out the last of 4 Soleimani-class warships. That's an entire class of Iranian ships now out of the fight. I'd characterize our strikes as being unpredictable, dynamic, and decisive. Since the first 24 hours of this campaign, Iranian ballistic missile and drone attacks have dropped drastically. But it's worth pointing out that Iranian forces continue to deliberately target innocent civilians in Gulf countries while hiding behind their own people as they launch attacks from highly populated cities in Iran. Of course, forces executing Operation Epic Fury.
Holy shit. My man Sterling Will dropping a humongous banger just now. Out of nowhere. Let's freaking go, my man. Thank you very much for 10 gifted memberships, my man. It not only helps me, but it helps 10 others in the Insane Wheels family. So I very much appreciate that. Let's freaking go, dude. Thank you very much for that. That goes a long way, my man.
Aren't just defending against Iranian threats. We are methodically dismantling them by hitting Iranian missiles.
Everyone hit that like button, by the way. We have 461 people in here. Let's freaking go. Double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side.
Missiles and drones, as we also strike their defense industrial base. Just last night, our bomber force hit a large ballistic missile manufacturing facility, as an example. So it's not just about what's shooting at us today, it's also about eliminating the threat in the future. Now, let me show you a few of the results from the tremendous efforts by America's joint force. Here, you see an Iranian Jamaran-class warship a large patrol ship, a drone smuggling vessel, and 4 other surface combatants docked at Chabahar port in the Gulf of Oman the day before we launched Operation Epic Fury. Here's the same pier 4 days later, all ships taken out of action. This Bayandar-class surface ship was hit and rolled on its side. Here's another example. Here you see 2 Iranian surface combatants docked at an Iranian naval base near the Strait of Hormuz, just hours into the campaign. And here's what they looked like 3 days later, engulfed in flames after we struck them with a precision weapon.
What's up, Stacks? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat, bro.
For years, the Iranian regime has threatened commercial shipping and U.S. forces in international waters. Our mission is to end their ability to project power and harass shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. From the air, we've achieved a concentration of air power with back-to-back waves of advanced fighters creating constant pressure on the enemy every single day. Our dominance is not a solo effort, it's a testament to the strength of our ironclad alliances. We continue to coordinate closely and effectively with Israel in this very large operation, and we are also coordinating and serving side by side with all of our partners.
Holy fucking shit, Sterling. What in the hell, dude? Holy shit. This motherfucker's sending them out today, bro. That's 15 already off the top, and he just got here, bro. Wow. Thank you very much for that, bro. Totally shocked. But thank you very much. I'm honored.
We're on a path to eliminating Iran's ability to threaten Americans and our friends, and we are achieving this through a combination of lethality, precision, and rapid innovation. Let me highlight a few examples, at least the ones that aren't classified, of how we are achieving lethal effects in entirely new ways. First, our warfighters are leveraging a variety of advanced AI tools. These systems help us sift through vast amounts of data in seconds, so our leaders can cut through the noise and make smarter decisions faster than the enemy can react. Humans will always make final decisions on what to shoot and what not to shoot, and when to shoot. But advanced AI tools can turn processes that used to take hours and sometimes even days.
Hormuz, by the way, Jimmy Mack.
into seconds. I continue to be impressed with all the branches of the U.S. military.
What's up, Luke? I very much appreciate that.
The entire team is performing superbly. Strike operations from our joint force continue, as I've said. I assess that we are clearly exercising air superiority over vast swaths of Iran. We have the most integrated air defense umbrella in the Middle East, and our defensive operations from the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Space Force teams are performing magnificently. A note about the Space Force. Our space superiority has been a critical enabler to this fight. Unseen by the world, the Space Force is doing 2 things. First, they're degrading Iranian capability, and second, they're helping to protect American forces, and I'll have to leave it right there. All told, despite this incredible progress, make no mistake, we remain highly vigilant. And I just could not be prouder of our Operation Epic Fury team, and I know the American people share that same pride. To all our warriors out there, please keep up the great work, and Godspeed. Thanks so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the morning for us. We only went 7 minutes over today, so not too much overtime today. Listen, thank you guys very much for allowing me to be able to do this Monday through Friday, and then, of course, Saturday morning for members only. Again, let me give a little side note regarding members only for this week. Unfortunately, we can't do it this Saturday. That's, it's unfortunate, but I'm on the campaign trail, and we have to do something for the biggest gun rights advocacy group that there is in the state, and we're endorsed by them. So we have to be there Saturday, and we have to be there. We have to leave here at 7:30 in the morning to get there at 9. It's going to be an all-day thing. So we're shifting the members only to Sunday. We're not giving up. You know what I mean? We're going to I'm going to give up my Sunday because that's only right to you guys that pay to be here. So I'm very honored by your guys' support. Sterling, by the way, thank you very much for the humongous gifted memberships this morning. Very much appreciate that. All right, you guys, much love, honor, respect, everybody. Stick around. We're going to be sending you guys off to Chaotic Truth. Make sure you guys let them know we're coming through with the Mike Ball raid. And until tomorrow, well, actually tonight, we're going to be doing the Diamond Effect this evening at 7:10 p.m. So Central Standard Time, by the way. We're going to be doing that. And we're going to be talking about Iran. So stick around for that. It's going to be good times. Anyways, much love to everybody. Stay safe.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. host with a fire burning